I hope your front door is locked and your phone is switched off. It's match time, and nothing can come in the way of a head coach and his Blood Bowl.
Ooh.
I'm looking for more questions. I'm gonna have time to maybe one or two more questions, guys.
Dwarves. One mighty blow. One
Whilst folks
movement.
think of that, Nethios, you're doing a top job, by the way. I know what it's like trying to scam chat for questions.
Yeah, I'm reading everything, trying to find some stuff. I'm sorry about the quality of my mic. I don't know how good it is, but it's not my standard connection is our mic, so sorry for the potential bad sound, people.
Oddity, I've noticed the question, but it's probably more one for the Champ Ladder guys rather than Nethios. So if you can hold on to that and ask it again, we've only got Nethios for literally seconds more. So one more question, fellas. That's Blood Bowl in general rather than Champ Ladder specific. Aardvark, I'd love to know that, but it's probably not that relevant. Okay, Duran asks, any chance for a sort feature for the ladder so you can sort by race, TV, coach, etc.? So, for example, if you're making a charge with your Necro team and you want to see who's my competition, any chance we can get anything like that?
Yeah, this one is a big one. It's pretty high on my list as well, because I know it's really something missing right now.
I want a bench.
It could be super useful for the champion ladder, obviously, since you can qualify as a roster and not in the overall leaderboard. So yeah, this one is very high on the list, and it's something that already can be done in a web interface. Like you can.
It's been talked about for Jargon, yeah.
In a moderate tool on Goblin Spy. So, in terms of coding, well, I'd say it's pretty light. Obviously, I'm not the one coding, so I might be wrong. But it's some work in terms of UI, and you have to think how to add this option in the current leaderboard on PC, but also on console. So I wouldn't say it's a light feature to implement, but it's not like something huge either. So it's absolutely important for me to add that in the future. I'd love to, at least.
I'm guessing we're about out of our allotted time for the talking with Nethios. So look, at this stage, Nethios, we've gone rather over your budget for time available. On behalf of the Blood Bowl community, can I extend your eternal thanks? Your accent is beautiful. And can we ever tempt you to come back and do one of these in future?
Sure. As long as we have more topic to discuss, I think a lot of important topics are going to be covered tonight. Obviously, I talked a lot in the first part of this stream, but we are a lot in the Discord channel here, so I think a lot of topics have to be covered, and I'm sure a lot of very cool suggestions are going to be made tonight. So if we have more stuff to discuss in the future, no problem to do something like that. No problem to do a stream. It's always easier to discuss like this than writing everything on the forum.
Just to summarise everything for everybody, in case you're wondering, Andy's been furiously taking minutes of the questions and the answers asked during the meeting. So we're doing our best to capture the questions that have been asked, but more importantly, the answers that were given. As a final point, Nethios, the best way, if folks want to get your attention, is it the Cyanide Forum or the Blood Bowl Discord? What's the best way you prefer?
Like private message or simply a message on the Blood Bowl Forum is perfect. I read absolutely everything posted there, so I'm not going to miss your message, even if it might take time. Sorry, because I'm managing several games next to Blood Bowl 2, but I'm going to read your message and answer. So yeah, forum of Blood Bowl.
So there we go, folks. As a plug for Use the Cyanide Blood Bowl forum, if you want to get Nethios' attention. I think we've covered everything we hope to with Nethios. So at this stage, group thanks from us. Really appreciate you coming by. It's great that folks' concerns are actually being heard by the guy with the hand on the tiller.
Yay! We still have 3 players on the line.
No problem. It was really a pleasure to be here, and thanks for having me once again.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. Have a nice day.
Adieu. Right, over to the next part of the session. So we're now looking at stuff that are specific to Champ Ladder rather than Blood Bowl in general.
Because Dode has more time.
Spider, Dode, hope we've got your answer hats on. The next question, specific to Champ's Ladder, 3-minute term timer in Champ's Ladder. Is this too long? Guys, over to you.
I'm not averse to trying a season of 2 minutes. The reason we've kept it as high as it is because we do have a very large player base, especially compared to the consoles. It's about 10 times larger than either of the 2 consoles. And we don't want to alienate people from it, because the moment you start alienating people from it, you reduce the player base, you reduce the number of matches.
He doesn't blitz.
And it just gets worse and worse. Now, I'm not averse to trying 2 minutes for a season, see how it goes, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Spidey, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I'm neither here nor there personally with 2 minutes or 3 minutes. I can go with either one. But as far as trying a season out on 2 minutes and seeing how it goes and what the general reaction is, I'm all for that. It's easy enough to switch back to 3 minutes the season after that if it fails miserably and everybody hates it, or if it doesn't work the way we would think it would.
I mean, I'm seeing lots of chat. Some people saying 2 minutes, some people saying 3 minutes. So there doesn't seem to be a massive selection either way, option either way. I think what Knorr's just said there is absolutely right. I'd rather have too much time than too little.
Yeah, and I think I had this discussion in another stream a day or two ago, but it's for the most part, in general, people are going to play their turn at a pretty decent speed, and they're not going to use the full 3 minutes. There might be 1 or 2 turns within a full game where they will use the 3 minutes, where it's an especially important turn where they got to really think their stuff out. But the problem is when you run across the griefers and the AFKers, and that's when the difference between the 2 minutes and 3 minutes can make a huge difference in time through a full game. Unfortunately, in the league like this, we can't get away from those griefers and stuff as you can in a private league where you can really manage those a lot closer. So, I mean, that's the biggest argument I think is between the difference of 2 minutes and 3 minutes.
I totally agree with you there. It's the AFK as the main issue. If we can find a way of detecting them, then that will reduce the issue. Obviously, and we could maintain our 3 minutes. People end at the time they see appropriate. Alternatively, the time bank would also reduce, would make it less of a problem as well. But at the moment, the problem is it's basically a trade-off between: do we give the AFKers a little bit more time to grief with, or do we give people something of a more inclusive environment?
Correct.
Part B of that question is, what's your understanding of Cyanide's appetite for introducing Time Bank, a more sophisticated version of a hard 2 minutes that specifically also addresses things like 15 seconds to consider, sub options, as Jimmy pointed out?
Probably a phone.
Yeah, phone. I'll ignore that. I'm busy. Sort of.
It's Nikios.
It's not three. Anyway, sorry. Over to you, fellas.
I forgot the question there.
Yeah, on the time bank rule, Nethios kind of alluded to it a little bit. It's something that, we'd like to. I think a lot of us would like to see implemented. It's something I think that would be a good, a reasonable fix to the situation. I'm neither here nor there on either one personally. I think the time bank would work pretty good. I've had that system before, and I think it works great. But if it's not implemented, I mean, yeah, it can be a pain in the neck sometimes when you're dealing with the AFK and the griefers. But it is what it is, and that's the way I look at it. Sometimes you got to take some of the bad to get the good, and I think we're on the right track to making this a really good thing. We've got a lot of visibility in the community now that we really didn't have before. Overall, we're on the right track, and if we can implement something like a time bank rule, I think, if it makes the community happy as a whole, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, agreed.
It sounds like there's broadly a consensus that from a quick glance at the chat, most folks are acceptance of the 3 minutes, but a time bank, if we could get it, would be brilliant. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, fellas.
Yeah. And one other thing, too, as I mentioned, I know maybe Jimmy or one of the other guys mentioned the 15 seconds or the 10 seconds to determine actions. I can understand the frustration on that sometimes, too, but realistically, there are times when that 15 seconds or maybe 7 or 8 or 10 seconds of that is needed. For instance, last night I was playing a match and I used 8 or 10 seconds to figure out if I wanted to use my APO on a piece or not. Sometimes those decisions aren't just a split decision, and you do need those 10 seconds that you have to be able to make those choices. So I'm not a big proponent to removing those or that set of time. I think 10 seconds or 15 seconds to make those decisions is not that big of a deal in the overall scheme of a 16-turn match.
I think you're missing it a bit. I think the problem is that they want more than 15 seconds to determine if they should app or play or not, and not just be limited to 15.
Gotcha. Yeah, I must have misunderstood then. Gotcha.
And especially using rerolls, it's very common, very, very common that there'll be something that you might want to reroll it if it fails. And you want to think about it for more than 15 seconds if it fails. But seeing as you can't do that, you have to think for a minute or something. I've had turns where I've got 2.5 minutes left in my turn, and I've got to think for, say, a minute.
Good stand.
I should re-roll this 2+ roll before I do it, because I should only have to think about that if I fail it, and I should have the rest of my turn time to think whether to re-roll, not just a little 15 seconds. That's the main issue. Obviously, you've got to have times for
That's annoying.
Turn and stuff like that.
That's really annoying.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that, Jimmy, and I definitely misunderstood where that was going. I thought it was on the other side of it. Yeah, if it's your offensive half and you have a 3-minute turn timer, I do agree. You should have that full 3 minutes to be able to decide. If you want to use 2 minutes and 45 seconds of that to decide if you're going to re-roll one roll, that should be your choice to have that time to use that way.
This is a great suggestion from my chat here. You keep the 15-second timer, but if it runs down, it starts using the time from the 3-minute timer. That way, if a player needs a little more time to
Oh, that's good.
Have it. That's a great solution and might be easy to do.
That's a nice idea.
Yeah, that's absolutely nice idea.
I noticed that one from Andy's chat as well. Put it into the thing, but it seems to be brought up in other places as well.
I need to take this phone call real quick, guys. So, Dode, I'll let you pick up on the answers, and I'll be right back.
Okay.
All right.
And
Got a
question 4
question
remains.
from Kanor in the Discord chat. Kanor, would you like to pose that one yourself, mate?
Oh, are you talking about the possibly unpopular opinion thing?
Okay,
Yes,
just as fun.
possibly unpopular.
Okay, so I asked Dode about if AFKers and AFKers/griefers in the sense that people AFK, if that's actually a big problem or not, depending on the reports that are submitted to them.
Yeah, we do get some reports. They're not huge in numbers, to be honest. The problem is evidence. When you get the replay file, it may or may not say exactly how much time was taken during that term and that kind of thing. So it's not easy to actually get hold of evidence to it. We've had situations where a streamer has come to us on Discord while they were streaming and someone went AFK, and I think VGP just dealt with it there and then, and the guy was banned straight away. There's no question there. But all I can suggest is, take some screenshots and get the information to us as soon as we can. We'll try and get hold of the replay file as possibly of some use to us. But to what Knor was suggesting is it to being not that big a problem, we can only know about it if it's reported to us. So how big a problem it actually is, yeah, it's bigger than what we know about, but we can only know about what we're told about.
So it's essentially probably then possibly a compounded problem in the sense that the reporting tools currently
Hey, thank you, 130.
that great.
Appreciate that.
Because you might be in a position where like I've just wasted 20 minutes of this AFK, or I can't be bothered to report it. But what should actually be happening is that you should be furiously annoyed and report it as soon as possible every time.
Yeah, basically. I mean, Nethios alluded earlier to possibly getting Cyanide to help us out with finding these things automatically, which would be a massive help for us, and certainly the easiest way to do it.
Gotta do displays first while I still anti-assist him.
So that we can act on them. We may not act on all of them. It may not be enough.
Punch the mighty blow. Push the mighty blow. It seems.
Really, did they? If I get lots
so
of
many
reports
pushes
from
this
people saying
game.
this bloke went AFK, then yeah, they very probably did.
Okay, good. I realized I turned into devil's advocate, but
lots of pushes indeed.
And I know this is of no interest to the viewers, but from a streamer point of view, just speaking from personal experience, in the hundreds of games I've watched Andy play, you get a griefer maybe 1 or 2 in 100, and each time we've just had a quiet word with whoever's on hand, VGP, Spider, Dode, instantly that they've basically dealt with it. The only good point, the reason why I mention this, is that these people, the serial offenders, are being weeded out as they stumble across a streamer. So I'd say if as a group we all are aware that the admins are receptive, knowing that we've got video evidence, if we're vigilant, it'll at least help the problem. It doesn't help an individual player who isn't recording it, of course. I get that.
And just as if this happens to you and you want to help out, and this is, I'm sorry, from more of a streamer perspective, just get shadow play or something run in the background, and if you realize someone is AFK, just start recording then. Then you at least have something more that you can send to Spider Dode as well.
Makes sense.
To YouTube or something, because I feel like that's probably it. It never happens to me, but I'm also in a very strange position in that I mostly play open league, and I recognize that. That's kind of why I'm asking, being like, but is this a big problem? Blah, 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 blah. But yeah.
My impression is it's rare. So, okay, good. Right. Next big question was agenda point number 7, league management options and the user interface. Dode and Spider, have you got anything you can share with us about that?
I discussed this briefly with Nethios, with some of the guys on voice here.
Surfing options,
the
maybe?
CCL admin team have a web-based interface which allows us to carry out a lot of the admin stuff that we carry on. We all use the same login and password for that, so that and our access to that interface is limited by that login and password. Nethios has his own, obviously, and he has access to far more capabilities than we do. So I think possibly the best way for us to get league management options may be a way that
is to hack his password
in our earlier chat, which is possibly to open that interface up to the public, to allow people with appropriate logons to get suitable access to their leagues, their league management, and it would be far easier for Cyanide to develop that. I don't know what thoughts are on that way of doing things, and I don't know what effect that would have on consoles for their way of doing things.
I guess Spider's still tied up at the sec. Okay.
For me, Mattia, I'm much more forgiving of that.
I think that's probably
it still goes against the idea.
Most likely resolution to that issue is, and the easiest resolution. Cyanide, obviously, as admins, we don't know fully everything that's going on behind the scenes with what Cyanide and Focus are doing. We only know what we're told, and even that minimal amount of data, sometimes we're not allowed to, pass on to the community until they give us the okay on it. But I would imagine getting them to go through and completely revamp the league admin tools or to add more to it is probably less likely than us being able to get access to this web-based
my blocked eyes have been
client to be able to have
awful.
More abilities.
I had this lovely surf lined up.
Svaho asks a question that I don't know if you guys can answer, but I'll relay
There
it
was a
nonetheless.
double chamber sheriff
What
of this
about
guy.
an auto concession if a player doesn't do anything, has no input for a few turns on the spin? So think your AFK griefer there.
All right, save the last reroll, run and hide, except that we suffer
Have any input on that one, to be honest.
I suspect that
3
was the
die
case.
pounds.
Spider,
Sure.
any ideas?
Yeah, same here. I mean, it's really going to be up to what
He
Cyanide
chose not to take the
can
POW.
get a
He
hold
thought
of
he
in
was
the back
surfing.
end to be able to verify
Huh.
that, and what they determine is
That's kind of cool.
considered an AFK and a griefer, which we alluded to earlier. How do you really quantify
White Ribbit,
what that
thank
means?
you
And that's
for
first
the
step in the process,
sub.
I think.
Really appreciate it.
If I can interject here, it was mentioned by a lot of people like having something like Hearthstone. So if there's literally no input whatsoever in a turn, then there's, if people use 2 minutes 40 or 2 minutes 55 to think, it's fair enough, isn't it, before they make a move. But if they just 3 minutes go by with no input, they get less and less time, like Hearthstone. That I think everybody would agree that's a good idea, right? If it could be done.
Yeah, it's a system which works and it's been proven to work. Absolutely.
Andy, are you able to capture that as something we can pass on to Nethios to bring up at his area? I'll take that as a yes.
Come
Andy, are you still with
on,
us?
Defaulted user, live. Oh, he's not even getting
God, that's
punched.
awkward. All right, moving on. Assuming the answer was yes.
Oh, I was muted. Sorry, I've been talking to myself. Brilliant. Yes, is the short answer there. I've taken Salvo's question and Jimmy's Hearthstone string analogy and put it into a question. Yes.
Well, it's a good question. It's a good answer. So smashing. Good.
Very good. Yeah.
Right. Oh, here's a good one. Doden Spider, team diversity and champ ladder. What are the options? What are the options available to make less popular teams more appealing? What's your position on this one, fellas?
4 turns.
Right, I mean, there's a number of ways we've done it. We very poorly introduced one possible way at the beginning of this season, which was to provide extra playoff places. I quite happily recognise that that's not a desirable option now, and our main problem with that was actually that we really weren't communicating with you guys at all. There are other ways of doing it. I mean, we spoke about prize money redistribution earlier. One of the things that we mentioned possibly was giving lower down qualifiers some sort of Steam voucher or something like that. What we could do perhaps is limit that to the lesser played team to get them played more, to actually give a point to qualifying with something like Ogres or Goblins, which at the moment there's really no point to doing, because frankly you're very unlikely to get past the first round. So you play all these matches, you get to the first round, you get knocked out, you've got nothing for it. So there's a few things that we can do, I think, outside of changing the way that we do tournaments and the like, but we might be able to have an effect on this.
Oops, no, not that way.
Right, in this order, first of all, Jumpy Jim has got a question. Jim, if I can hand the mic to you.
It's not. I mean, there's a question in there, but it's more so a statement. I am confused as to why the diversity thing is considered a large issue, because honestly, you've created a competitive ladder. Obviously, the majority of people are going to gravitate towards competitive teams. It's not a surprise that you're seeing a lot of undead and wood elves, and you're not seeing a lot of halflings and goblins and whatnot. And as a coach who tends to stream and play a lot of the silly teams, goblins, I'm doing vampires this season. I guess the closest thing I play to a regular competitive team is Skaven from time to time. I'm okay with the idea that there's going to be a lot of the quote-unquote OP teams in the champion ladder, and I don't really want to see an attempt to slant away from that. The only thing I would say, and I think this is the heart of what the argument is that people got sick of seeing high TV chaos all the time. And really the problem is the only way we can fix that is to figure out a way to nerf Claw.
1,
honestly,
2, 3,
and that's
4,
not going
5,
to be within
6,
our purview
7,
of doing.
8, 9.
And so I guess
2, 3, 4, 5,
what is the main motivation for trying to improve the diversity? Is it just so that people aren't running into chaos teams all the time? And if that's really the main goal, I don't think anything we're going to do is going to honestly accomplish that. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the fact that my halflings are going to get beat most of the time, or my goblins are going to get beat most of the time. I think if you are the kind of coach who takes up that mantle, that's just something you accept. So that's my question/statement.
Okay. The main problem we see in just about every matchmaking league that has been run is that lack of diversity, not just to high TV, because those people wanting to get to high TV with their Chaos teams, with their Chaos Dwarf teams are starting at low TV. So you get the same issues there as well. You get that same issue. Now, you're saying that we can't do anything about it. Actually, if you look at the range of teams played in FOL from DB1, in Fumbles, Black Box, and here, actually we've got quite a wide range of diversity played here.
I'm glad I stuck that guy there.
For those who know it. And for example, the most played team this season is not Chaos, it's Orcs, shortly followed by Chaos, then followed by Dark Elves. I mean, things like Chaos Dwarves and that kind of thing, they're not played as much. Now, I think that's partly due to the fact that we have a reset every 6 weeks, so actually building your team is a bit more painful than playing those bash teams. But I think
that's not too
it's
bad.
also partly due to the fact that we have one per race in the playoffs, and I say that based on the fact that when I originally ran playoffs in the in FOL and BB1, I started off doing it with just the top 16 teams, and it was Chaos, Chaos Dwarf, Chaos, Chaos Dwarf, Nurgle, all that kind of thing. I then made it top of each, and we saw a shift in the number of games played by each race in the ladder based on the playoffs as well. So yeah, I think we can do something about it.
Just to follow up, I didn't mean to say that the one for each race does not do something. It absolutely did. I think that was a great decision, and I think that does lead to diversity. My point was that I don't know that it would be a great idea to fiddle with it a lot more than that. I think that already did a lot, and I think that was a good design decision that allowed people to want to play these lesser played teams. But you're still going to see a lot of people playing the competitive team. So I did not mean to say that there's nothing that's been done that didn't work. I think making one race
so we're down
was
to
a good
9
design
dudes.
decision. But I just wanted to say that I don't like the idea of fiddling with it a lot more. I think you're always going to have this issue crop up, and that's all I was saying.
Yeah, we are. You're absolutely right. And no one is asking for everything to be played exactly the same amount across the board, because as you correctly say, that's simply not going to happen. What changed last season and this season, though, more than anything, is the number of wildcard slots. If you increase the number of wildcard slots open to other races, then you increase the number of times people think they're going to achieve with those races, such as Chaos and Chaos Dwarves and things like that. So it was really a possibly misguided attempt by us to offset what we saw as a skew in the opposite direction from what we wanted, i.e. pushing towards more of that heavy bash type thing.
Murloc, Joe had a point on this subject. Has this already been covered, Joe, or would you like to jump in at this stage?
I'm not sure which point you're referring to.
10:13. You said a question. Is it normally happens at least 2 to 3 times a season? AFK concedes.
Oh yeah, to the AFK. That's the AFK concessions. This is about something else, though, isn't it?
It is. Apologies. I'm trying to keep up with the folks who've sort of put their hand up in the voice chat as well.
Gotta do this
are you
now.
happy, Joe? Shall we move on?
Yeah.
Man!
Concession stuff.
Fuck that thrower!
Smashing. T, did you have something you wanted to ask at this stage?
Well,
No
wasn't
way.
Really a question or anything. It was just
I still have 2 turns.
Idea that was going about my head really about trying to get more people.
Still have
to
a
play different
reroll.
teams. The only issue you've got, as Jumpy has put quite well, is that people want to play these teams because they usually perform better at this.
Okay, that's not a pow, so that's
because
good.
They're competitive teams, and if it's in a competitive ladder, then you're going to probably play the competitive teams. And if you're playing teams like halflings or goblins, and you probably know you're going to lose more than you're going to win, unless things go ridiculously in your favour. The only thing I could maybe think would be an idea to try would be, you see a lot of people who will regularly qualify for the top spot of a race such as Chaos Dwarves, etc. What would be maybe a nice idea to try and promote diversity from them in particular, or allow other people to play? Would be to maybe make it so if you qualify with a certain team one season, you can't qualify with that same team the next season. Just to maybe improve that out of a way. It's probably not a great idea, but it is a suggestion.
Yeah, this is pretty awful.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly something we can look at. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely could look at that.
Oh,
and
man.
I think another thing to keep in mind here is not every
Could've
single
picked up with
person
the
that's
gutter.
playing in the CCL is playing to try to qualify. A lot of people are just in there playing whatever team they want to play because they know they can get a more likely chance to get a competitive match that's admin or monitored, not admin, sorry, monitored for the griefers and that kind of stuff to kind of limit that. I mean, I run across records all the time with coaches that have no absolute chance to qualify with that team, yet they're still playing them because it's a team they like to play or a race they like to play, and they know they can get the competitive matches.
Yeah, that's kind of why I play in Champions Ladders. I don't really play to qualify. I just sort of play because that's where I get some decent matches most of the time.
Exactly.
So it's really cool from that point.
Less concessions, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But that is a good point, Rich's T, and something that we can definitely discuss as an option.
Jimmy Fantastic's got a question for this stage, Jimmy.
Well, it's not actually a question, just a statement, and I would like to go to the Champs Ladder, and I think the format is good. It does naturally Blood Bowl everyone always goes for the bashiest teams because people don't like getting banged on. Like, statistically, that's always the most popular. The heaviest bash teams are always the most played in ladders and everything like that. Matchmaking. But it is good. It is good that there's the competitive environment for everybody and everything. And I think the one of everything, is a good way to get the diversity. And I don't think it needs more than that because I don't think narrowing the tiers is on the cards. And you can argue that it shouldn't be on the cards. So yeah,
So we could do a one-die blitz on this guy, push him onto the ball, see where it bounces.
All right. What's happened to the real Jimmy Fantastic, and who are you? Thank you very much, Jimmy.
Somebody hijacked his stream.
This is the new Leaf, Jimmy.
No, but you know what I mean. I've said a lot of things, but a lot of them are tongue-in-cheek, and a lot of them are, some of them I regret, and some are over the top for comic effect and that, and maybe they haven't all gone down well. But yeah, it's not all one-sided. It's just easier to voice the things, your opposition to things you don't like than to thank people for what you do like, isn't it?
Oh, it was a hug.
It is Christmas, isn't it? Bloody hell.
Wait a minute. The next thing we need is to get Voodoo Mike on here and say he loves everybody.
Steady on, Spider. Steady on. Right, in the interest of time, with facilitating Zunk hat on, we're moving on to agenda point number 9. This one's a hot one. Spider, Doe, gird yourselves. TV Plus versus ELO, and is TV Plus working? Fellas, over to you.
Right, this is going to be a little bit of a monologue, I'm afraid, because there's a number of factors involved. First off, matchmaking is pretty much broken anyway, regardless of whether it should be matching by TV, plus by TV, whatever. It is not working. I'm not 100% sure how it is working at the moment. It seems to be picking a team to try and match with first, and then it just finds the best match for that team, then moves on to the next team and so on. But what it's not doing is matching as it should be. And I think a lot of the issues people have with that, with the matching system, are due to that. If we're happy with that, then we've basically got to look at how we're matching and why TV Plus is, and I'm going to say it's controversially, a better system. Now, I'm not going into this from this is the way to do it. I'm not going into this from any perspective other than, what do the numbers show us the best way to match. Now, a lot of people say TV is the best way to match. A lot of people say that games played is the best way to match. And we've looked at all of those numbers, and actually what we're trying to find out is the best way to make a game fun for both people. And a fun game is not a one-sided game. If you look at any matchmaking system from StarCraft to anything else where they don't have unequal teams, then they try and match
5
based on
plus 3
skills
plus,
of
I
the game
guess?
as 50-50 as it can be. And a lot of the advantages that those places have are the much larger player base, and they don't have that inequality of teams. We have that inequality of teams. It's a major issue for us, and the smaller player base is a major issue for us when it comes to making
2, 3, 4
so we've got to try and
plus
find
to
a way
get
of
to
making the
him.
games as even as possible. I'm ignoring entirely the competitive side of this for the moment. Jimmy says you can't tell fun from numbers. No, you can't, but you can tell. You can say that a predictable match is less fun than an unpredictable match. Unless you're
Inaccurate
winner
would
every time.
have probably been okay
One of the
there.
things that makes a game more fun for people, as we can tell from having watched some of your streams.
This is good though. This is nice.
And so, if we can work out a way to get games between people as close as possible, then that's a good thing. The best method we've found so far is TV Plus, where every win you get adds 50 to your effective matching number. Jugoslan says it's too high, 50 TV is stupid, make it 10. Actually, we looked at the numbers, and in CCL, 73 is actually the right number we should be using, and we're using 50, which is lower than it should be. So yeah, that's what we're going to go with for the moment. We could look at TV alone. I don't think TV alone would work under the current matching system either anyway, but it wouldn't produce more even games. And bear in mind, this is not a competitive solely environment. We can take that environment and we can apply a competitive method to it. Now,
Okay, so that works.
We haven't been doing that particularly well recently. The ranking system at the moment only takes wins, losses and draws into account. It doesn't take into account your actual ability of your opponent, which I think it should do, and I think a number of people have been taking advantage of the fact that it doesn't. That's something we can look at. That's something I've been looking at actively with some help from people like Arne and Voodoo Mike in ways that we can look at applying some sort of ELO type system into this. I've also got help from people
so at
outside
least
the Blood Bowl
he's
community
not scoring, I
who
guess.
do ranking systems and have created ranking systems for various games as well.
But chances of me scoring seem
so we're trying to make it
slim
so
right now.
that
Damn it.
you can basically play in an environment where there is where every match is as unpredictable as we can reasonably make it. But if it's unpredictable, the team that the better coach which wins will get rewarded more when he's playing against the worst coach.
So to summarise, it's a recognition that the TV Plus is currently in place, but it's not working as intended, and it is being worked on to make it work better.
That's good.
Is that right?
Basically, yes. People are asking where the 73 TV comes from. You can you can basically carry out a regression analysis on the games themselves. You can do it yourself if you're able. The matches are there available for people to do on Goblin Spy, so you can take a look at it yourself. It comes out at 73 for season 10, and around that number for just about every other season.
Smashing. Okay. Following on from the above, 500 TV gap is too high. Would you drop it to 350?
There's a couple of issues with just dropping it straight to 350. If people remember from way back when we started, there was no TV limit, and we dropped it from no TV limit because we were getting silly million TV differences, and I totally recognise that brand new team playing against a 2000 TV team is simply not.
We've got 2 dice there. We've got some potential for 2 dice here.
Matchup. They reduced it from
hand off there.
no limit to 500 at request of the players, and now at the request of the players, we're asking it to be reduced again, and then it will be asked to reduce again. And that's a bit of a slippery slope argument, so it's not the strongest. But one of the things we saw with 500 TV reduction is a lot of private leagues who are running their own matchmaking system suddenly found that they couldn't make games. And so those leagues which have their own, very sparse player base who are trying to get matches happen are simply not able to do so because the limit in CCL is dropped to 350.
Pushes
I don't
enough.
think that's particularly a wise thing to do for everyone. Again, that said, I think we also can all recognise that there's issues with new teams getting matched 500 TV up. I've asked Cyanide already to try and limit the amount of TV that a fresh team can play up to. So I was looking at 300 initially. So a brand new team can only play up to 1300 TV, and that would increase gradually per game up to 500 TV. If we don't want to go up to 500, then a limit that was used in Blood Bowl 1 was 430, so that Morg is at least included. I know most people won't pick him, but is at least included in the game, which means you can start at 250 going up to 430 by the same
that helps.
Method. Argox asks about a changeable slider in league options. That might be something that might be a possibility if we get the league options via some sort of web base, but at the moment it's all in-game. Changes to the UI are not something that I'm a big fan of.
Dode, thank you very much for that. Jimmy, you got a couple of points to make on TV Plus. Over to you.
Right, well, also I was saying that it was glossed over quickly, but the ELO was
3 players down.
An alternate idea for the ranking for the champion level, wasn't it?
Kind of have to score.
I don't know if he wanted to match by that as well, but or if that was even possible. That he could do that, but yeah, I don't know. Obviously, people know I'm not a fan of TV Plus. 50% win rate for both sides, regardless of skill or the team, isn't necessarily the most fun or competitive match, is it? Because, and also, it's not only on it. It's the problem with TV Plus is on the actual individual match level, isn't it? And there's also 2 things: there's TV Plus and there's full TV Plus. Now I know that Dode favours full TV Plus. And I think full TV Plus would be the death of Blood Bowl 2, to be honest. So I'm going to be restrained. I'm not going to go crazy on it, but I think a lot of people don't like TV Plus. That's all I'm saying, because it is, you know, if you're winning and then they're getting basically to make it a 50-50 between a good player and a bad player. The advantage that they're getting is Mighty Blow and Guard mostly, or making the dice determine who wins, which isn't good for either player if the dice determine who wins, really, is it? That's, you know,
Puts him,
reduce the skill element. That's what
go
you do.
there,
To make
block
bad players
there.
get a better win
That's
rate,
not good
you reduce
enough.
the skill element, which means you're increasing the dice element, or you're making it a horrible, horrible slog uphill, and then your team gets killed for the next game, the next game, the next game. Now, obviously, I am coming from the situation where I would fancy myself to beat most players at equal TV. But it's not just that. I mean, I think it affects everyone. It's not necessarily good.
Can we stall?
What's happening is the lower TV team coach is actually getting inducements on top of what he's being matched with. So in most cases, actually, the lower TV coach, the guy who's actually the better coach, should win anyway, because he gets that advantage on top of what he's playing at TV at. Now, I get that you say that it's mostly Garden, Mighty Blow, and all that kind of thing, but I'm not kind of entirely sure how you jump from that means more luck. Actually, I think it just means that you have to deal with these things more. You have to deal with them more when you're playing tier 2 teams, tier 3 teams as well. So the thing is, you're trying to quantify fun. And as you say, it's not necessarily the most fun or competitive match, not always, but actually we could probably say quite reasonably that a lot of the time a more even match is a more fun and competitive match than a uneven match. A one-way match will more of the time be less fun and less competitive to play.
Well, I made 2 distinct points there. There was the fact that you're down guard a Mighty Blow, you can't play.
Jimmy, I just want to jump in. Your mic's dropping out a little bit, so it's making it a little bit difficult to understand. I'm not sure if it's just for me or if it's for others.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening, but yeah, the thing is, you're up against more guard and Mighty Blow, which means that you're taking more attrition and stuff in the match, and obviously Mighty Blow means more luck, obviously, because, you know, sometimes the Mighty Blow fires, sometimes it doesn't. But that was distinct from how do you make
I'm so screwed right now.
A skillful player and an unskillful player closer. You reduce the amount of influence skill has on the result, don't you? That's the only way you can do it, which you know, I'm not a fan of, and a lot of people don't like it. That's all I'm saying. A lot of people don't like it, though. I know you love it because of your ideas about what's fair. I think they're out of step with what most people think. Right, I'm out, other people can talk.
Right.
I don't think you can only reduce by increasing the luck. You can reduce the gap by giving the other person more resources as well. And I think that's what's happening here. And you're equating increasing their resources to reducing the luck. I don't think it's the same.
Well, you're reducing the amount of... what the fuck? This mic. By giving them more resources, you're impact of the skill that the other person has, or whatever. That's it. Anyway, right, I've got to go.
It's not about reducing the impact, you're challenging it. But I don't think that's the same thing as luck.
I think we might have lost Jimmy due to technical reasons. Well, look, to further this one, look, Joe has got a question regarding this issue. Joe!
Okay, that helps a little.
Yeah, it's more like a comment, my opinion on it. Me and Dode spoke about TV Plus and the advantages of it at length the other day. And to start off with, I was very much against TV Plus because I felt it was just punishing me, rooting for me, making my life harder, like making qualification for me harder. But at the end of the day, the goal of Camp Ladder is fun and fair matches, even matches where both sides can win. And TV Plus helps produce that. The bad thing about TV Plus in the current state is that it matches you based on your TV Plus rating and not on your other stuff, rather. Hold on, let me catch up there. But yeah, pretty much. The problem is that you qualify based on your win, loss, and your draw ratio, right? You don't qualify based on your TV Plus rating. As in other games, where you have the TV Plus, where you are matched because of your what equals TV Plus. You also qualify based on that one. If qualification for playoffs and ranking in general would happen based on TV Plus rating, it would be perfectly fine, in my opinion. But as of now, I think it's bad for qualification. But if we were qualifying based on TV Plus rating and not win-loss ratio, I think TV Plus would be could be a good thing for a game.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we mentioned yesterday, I'm actively looking at ways to include TV Plus rating into the ranking. It's not quite as simple as it looks though, because currently, bizarrely, the ranking system, which we have at the moment, is by the metrics we're using to measure how well ranking systems work, which is basically to see how well they are predict games that have happened before. So if you say Jimmy's number one on the ladder and I'm number 947th, the ranking system should predict that Jimmy will beat me, which he very probably will. But if it doesn't predict that, then the ranking system has got it wrong. The more predictions it gets right, the better. And currently, the current ranking system, bizarrely, is working really well. It gets, from season 10 data, for example, it got 85% of the matches correct, which I haven't been able to come close to with anything else at the moment.
Yeah, another thing we spoke about yesterday was the how much TV Plus rating you would gain from a match. Like, we all know that the first weeks of Champ Ladder is the best week to play, because you can grind out, like, say you get up in team value, you can play up in TV, you have a good win record, and you play against lower team value teams, you play against not that good coaches. But if you add in the E11 and TV Plus, you would gain less TV Plus rating for beating a lower team of a worse coach. And so the people who grind out those 50 games in the first 2 weeks, they would gain less win rating per match in the other weeks compared to if they played later when they were facing evenly developed teams.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from there. So you're thinking of a reduction in the increase in TV Plus depending on who you've played against, is that right?
Yeah, it's like on the even match, right? If the match is very uneven, the favored guy will gain less rating if he wins, but the unfavored one would lose that if he loses, but also gain way more if he wins it. So if I constantly are the favored guy, I would have to play more matches to gain the same rating as if I was constantly playing against even opponents or even matches.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you. I mean, it kind of almost works a bit like that anyway, because it's a gain and a loss of this rating, 50 per win or loss, because you lose one when you lose one as well. So if you get to the point where you are winning and losing, you actually fairly stay the same.
There, I guess.
Yeah, it's like if I was playing someone twice as good as me, I would only lose 25.
Right, make this catch, and then we're sort of okay again.
Something I can look at. I'm not entirely sure how we'd apply that to the Z-Sum
How
rating,
far can he get?
because that's a different thing
He
entirely.
has the splitzer, and
so I'll have a look at it as it stands with the win-loss thing at the moment. It's something that's something that we looked at as well, is reducing the amount you gain per match. Because as you play more matches, you'll get closer
I don't need to make GFIs. That's kind of cool.
So that's possibly one way of making it more accurate as well. So
Claw only Chorf level doubles again. Mighty blow, Manus.
Canu's got some input on this. Canu, over to you, mate.
Yeah, okay. Opinion time. So, as probably most of you know, I don't play that much in Championship Ladder. I tend to stay in Open and my own leagues, and that's mainly because I rarely play as efficiently as possible. Like, I've put a fucking bear on the Kislev team because it's funnier, right? Still, with that said, I currently sit at around 60% win rate in total and like a 20% loss rate in total, which for someone not tryharding that much is probably too much. If the matchmaking worked like properly, and we know that it's not, right? So that's probably why I sit at that high a win percentage. So that's one of the things that skews, but I think it's also one of the things when we talk about this is that, at least from my experience working with other games and stuff, is that there are a bunch of different people that play games for different reasons. Some people find it really fun to be, and I'm not trying to apply a label onto anyone here, so if you think that, you're wrong, basically. If you're watching, like, I'm talking about someone, I'm not talking about anyone specific. But I know that there are people that I play Blood Bowl with that really enjoy, at least in Blood Bowl 1, to go in with a 1400 dwarf team and just destroy someone else because they found it funny, whereas others didn't. And I don't necessarily think one is right or wrong, but I think when we're discussing this thing, we also need to be honest and look at, okay, so from what perspective is this person talking about TV Plus or ELO? Are we talking about it from, I find it challenging to be like a 50-50 win rate? Or do I find that more enjoyable than, say, going in and knowing that my experience having played this game for quite a long time or grinding really hard so that I know that I got good? Do I find that more interesting and more fun to play? And both of those are valid for different reasons. But when we try and look at a matchmaking solution, we are going to try and fit both of these groups, and there's probably more groups, into one cauldron and then try and figure out what the best way to work things out, right? And we're at not everyone's going to be happy.
He didn't GFI.
And my perspective on that is usually, if not everyone's going to be happy, let's try and figure out the solution where we get the most amount of people playing. Because that's always been, like, regardless of where you've been playing Blood Bowl, that's always been a problem where you're kind of scared that the player base is just going to drop out. And then maybe we can look at different leagues do different things. But right now I feel like this type of discussion is too much focused on how all the tiny pieces are going to fit together rather than looking at the bigger whole, the bigger picture. Like, is it important that we have a better matchmaking solutions where the games are more even? In my mind, I think that's important. Others might disagree, and then we have to have the discussion, okay, so what type of matchmaking do we want? Basically, I like TV Plus, is what I'm saying. Yeah. End of rant. Thank you.
You're welcome, Kiddo.
Yeah, it's split opinion. Sorry, I've seen a lot of can we try TV? Maybe something that we can try in the future. I don't know how hard it would be for them to take out of the TV Plus.
Please don't.
Maybe. Well, the thing I want to emphasise here more than anything else is people are saying TV Plus is awful, TV Plus is awful. You're not getting TV Plus at the moment. You're not, because the entire matching system is broken.
I think that's the key thing, that a lot of the questions that have been fielded to me as private messages are missing, is that, as we said right at the start, TV Plus isn't currently working as it should, and that is being looked at. Just quickly going on from that, Anania says TV Plus currently isn't fun. We're transferring the fun from the good competitive players to the lower, slower players. Is that, we already covered that, Dode? Do you want to reiterate real quick?
Yeah, I mean, transferring from the good players, they're not the only people who get the fun. This is, as was said by Nethios earlier, and I said at the beginning, this is a league for everyone. It's not just for the good players. It's not just for the bad players. And ultimately, if you have lots of matches where there are lots of predictable matches, or you can have lots of matches where more of them are less predictable. And that's what TV Plus is doing. And I don't know how making more matches less predictable, if we accept that making matches more predictable, less predictable is what we want to do, which you may or may not agree with. I don't know how that's having a bad effect.
How optimistic are you that we'll find a solution that actually fixes TV Plus up for them in a fashion that more folks then are convinced, actually, this is working now for me?
They've got to fix the matching itself first. People are asking exactly how it's broken right now. I don't know exactly how it's broken right now, but I know from going through the data that it's not working the way it should do. It is not matching the closest TV Plus ratings. An example of how you might assess that is if people are aware of Fumble and how they work their system, they actually come up with a suitability score for each matchup that's possible to make, and using that suitability score, they choose which set of matches is the best for them. We don't do that on this. I don't know exactly what they are doing. One of the problems we're trying to do here is pool sizes. You've got pools sometimes are as low as 2 players, sometimes as high as 36 players. And the problem with having pool sizes of that sort of size, and I looked into this quite some depth, is it actually takes hours to work out the best pooling, the best method of matching at that point. And we don't have that, clearly. You're talking about a maximum of 10 seconds to come up with a chain of matches, which this is not an insurmountable problem, but is one of the problems that has to be resolved when coming up with how they're actually going to solve the problem itself. So this is one of the things, on top of looking at how TV Plus works, on top of looking at how the ranking system works, actually looking at how the matchmaking system is working is something that I'm doing. And the reason I'm doing it is because I don't appear to be doing it. So, you know, I'm far from an expert in these things, but I am getting information from people who are and trying to get them to help as well. But ultimately, it comes down to whether any solution that anyone comes up with, whether Sana will actually implement it or not. I can't say whether they will or not. We may be stuck as we are forever. I don't know. I don't think it's perfect. I think it could be improved. But there are people who have philosophical differences with what we're trying to do here. So.
Cool. Okay. So to summarise, TV Plus isn't working as it should. Limited resources over at Cyanide, but Dode's seeking assistance for expert help with how to try and fix it. So totally agree, it doesn't work at the minute. Just to wrap this point up, Shawnee's got a final question, and he writes, win rating, this isn't necessarily better for Blood Bowl due to the nature of Blood Bowl. An agility team with a wizard versus a large amount of mighty blow is more likely to be decided in the first 4 turns compared to a game between even team value teams, even if the result is often going in the favour of one coach more often. I don't know if this is even a large enough factor for any consideration.
I got the full message there. He said that a 50-50 win rating isn't necessarily the best for Blood Bowl, just to clarify that. I don't know what the nature of Blood Bowl brings to the table that makes a more predictable match more enjoyable to watch or be part of. I'm not suggesting that unpredictable matches are always better. They're not always better by any stretch. But I'm saying, what does the nature of Blood Bowl bring to the table that makes, in general, an unpredictable match worse than a predictable match?
Well, okay, look. Here's the thing, right? Kanor just made a point that said, you don't nerf good players, you get to use your skill to win rather than just getting in. Well, you get the easy win.
Dude, don't bring up things I'm trolling the Twitch chat for when they're trolling me back. You can't use that
trolling.
as...
Okay, sorry.
They were trolling, I trolled back. You can't use that as an argument. Continue.
Well, I'm not having a go at you. I'm just saying it was a point that, it was a point that was made, okay? And that's it, you can use your skill to win. If you're down 200 TV, the mighty blow, and it's the progression aspect, isn't it? It's unlike anything else on any other game, really. It's hard to compare it to any other game because everyone makes their Hearthstone.
Well, you get star player points for Jargon.
And you can match against other good players at the top, so you can just keep doing that. But the progression of Blood Bowl really, really screws everything up because you can have a really good player with a 1400 TV team, or a fantastic player with a 2000 TV team, or and everything in between. And so it's really hard to get any good matching, to be fair. But I think the progression is what really screws everything up. Is the biggest thing, and you can't just match by coach skill, because then you could have Crucifer's 2000 TV Chorfs against Ducky's 1200 TV team or whatever. So it's a really big problem.
Yeah, Jimmy makes an absolutely good point there. It's progression, it's different TV values, different mechanical strengths of the teams make this difficult. Because Hearthstone meta is known pretty well. I don't know it, but I'm told it's known pretty well, and people know what makes the best decks. When you play StarCraft and all that kind of thing, you start with the same stuff all the time, and you can therefore make a pretty good assessment of how closely matched the teams are. But you can have two teams of the same TV with different skills or of different races, and they will have different actual mechanical capabilities. And I'm not talking about the difference between
I'm going to have to score now.
Wood Elves here. I'm talking about
Nothing
the difference
for
between
it.
like Wood Elves and Dark Elves at certain TVs.
Let's give it to Viking Cop, shall we?
Smashing. Okay. Mindful of time, fellas. I know we haven't solved this problem yet, but I think we know where everybody's opinion lies.
All right. Couple of turns for the Dwarves. I think they got rid of my kicker.
We'll press on. Next point. Thankfully, the last few agenda points are all much less controversial. So,
come on, wake
number
up.
11. Oh. Can we make small players hidden behind large players more visible?
Again, I think this is probably one for Nethios, but I think it's a good idea. I saw someone earlier mention something about a green outline for people behind there. They've got options to put a grid on the pitch, to put skills on the pitch. I see no reason why that shouldn't be an option as well. I don't know what other people think.
I'd made that mistake myself last night, but honestly,
I would have
there's
really
a 3D
liked my
camera in
kicker
it.
now.
Personally, I think it's my fault for not using my bloody eyes, but it's a reasonable suggestion. If there were a next Blood Bowl 3 or a big edition involving quality of life changes, that would be one that we'd probably shove forward to sign it to say, hey, can you do something?
I think we're going to draw this.
Like you say, make a green
4
outline.
turns probably enough, especially with no kick.
Okay. Number 12.
I have to be aggressive here.
Any chance we can get an option for
Maybe I should have
text
about
rather
that,
than
badly hurts.
pictorial icons for skills on player cards?
Yeah, don't care about it.
I don't know why I'm answering this one in particular, but hey, I put the button press. I actually modded it a while ago to put text on there, but every time they update the game, I have to change the mod again. So I haven't maintained it at all. It certainly can be done. I think there's the option for that to do that. I'd really like it to open up workshop support for this kind of thing, because there's nothing that players can't do.
Oh, but we only have
I don't
gutters.
think many people would disagree that having this option would be beneficial, so you can make the choice. Next one, very popular. When queuing up a game in Open League or Champ Ladder, how does the ability to spin multiple teams currently work? Is it genuinely happening, or does it not work?
It's not at all.
No, it doesn't work. I don't know how it works when it's in. It's kind of combined with the fact that matching isn't working in the first place anyway, because it just takes team number one and tries to match that against any other team in the list that doesn't belong to that coach. And so it may not necessarily be the best match that the coach has available for him. So he's getting crap
Deep kick is good, except not right now.
The other thing they've got is the timer that they've got running isn't working how I suggested they work. I suggested they work it as a timer based on the actual time. So talking about, on the hour, at 5 past, at
that
10
won't get me
past,
past either.
Past for the pools to put together. They didn't do that. Instead, they start the timer every time the first person in the pool presses that they're looking for a match, and then anyone else joining that pool joins afterwards at some point within that 5-minute gap. That means that all the leagues that are spinning are actually doing so asynchronously. They're not happening at the same time. So while this league over here may have started 5 minutes ago, this league over here started 3 minutes ago, and because you've got a team in each of one, you've got more chance of getting a game in the one where there's only 3 minutes left than the other one. So at the moment, it's not working, certainly not as well as it should, and certainly not as well as it could.
Yeah, fair enough. The final point we've got on the established agenda is when you're sat spinning waiting for a game at the moment, there's no actual clue as to how long you've been spinning. What's the chances of getting a timer?
Yeah, again, that's something I said to them when we first talked about this pooling option, was to put a timer at the top, but they didn't do it, so I don't know what the chances are.
Wow. All right. Still got to reroll.
We're currently out of agenda points, and based on what folks are saying in the chat, there's some concerns that although we've been able to
that's kind of cool.
articulate a lot of concerns
we've had,
that guy? Still question marks over will it actually happen. Dode, I know that this is way outside your remit, but as you're the closest thing we've got, what would be your estimation? What will happen next with the suggestions that have been discussed this evening? Can you make a guess?
I have every faith in Nessus
the bounce is good.
Cyanide, but he doesn't work for Cyanide, and Cyanide don't work for him. He works for the publisher for their game. Whether they choose to do it or not is down to whether it works for their business model. So I don't know is the answer to that. In terms of actually getting anything done, the best thing I've found that we can do, and I know Inarian has worked with me on stuff like this as well before, is to present them with the same, a fait accompli. So this is
it would have been very nice if Viking Cop had gone there.
They're fairly good at taking that kind of thing. So, for example, the current team page that we have, where players are actually listed as opposed to being all in player cards, is basically down to the input from Anari and I think a couple of others when we were asked about what was wrong with the UI. We had a lot of other input as well, but not all of it was taken on. So I don't know.
So basically, we're not banging the heads against the walls. The more effort that you guys in Champ Ladder have put in collating fixes, if it's a almost ready to go done deal, we'll just go, oh great, thanks for that, and adopt it. That's a better chance than if we were just giving them the problem. We've given a solution as well. So that is worthwhile activity.
Yeah, giving them a solution, absolutely. And this comes back to the very early point of how we and Focus and all that communicate with the player base. That comes the other way around as well. We need to get the information from the player base as well. And while things like Discord and streams and all that kind of thing are fantastic for getting chats and discussions going on, then it's not really a good place for us to be able to pick these things out. I mean, I know Andy's writing like a demon at the moment to try and take down notes, and he's going to have to put them all together and get them to people, but that's not actually any of our jobs. We're doing this because we want to. If people want to make them to Focus and make them to Cyanide, then the best place to do it is to put it on the suggestions bit in their forum. And I know the forum's a little bit of a tumbleweed place, and I know that I've got a reputation for shooting down ideas. I promise that that's not going to happen all the time, but I will express an opinion, and I'll try and do it in a possibly slightly more pleasant manner.
So we look forward to new and improved Dode.
New and improved forum Dode to go alongside new and improved streaming Jim.
Super helpful. Look,
you heard it here
I've got
first,
someone
folks.
Who can reach the backfield now.
Look, before we wrap up, there's a couple more points that the
and now this guy's going to pass to that guy.
The mic over to you. Got a question?
Well, sure. I mean, it's not a question. It's just one of them. I think, and this is me being colored by working in marketing for a publisher.
Which means the
so
GFI could...
I have a sense of what Nethos has to deal with, and Cyanide as well. And I think a lot of the suggestions, like Dode was talking,
doesn't actually help.
The easier it is to implement, the more likely it is to actually get implemented, assuming Cyanide and Focus still want to do stuff for Blood Bowl 2. If they're already onto something else, they probably don't have any manpower developing things for Blood Bowl 2, in which case we're buggered old anyways. But as Blood Bowl players, I feel like we're kind of used to not much happening and still trudging along. But that also means some of the more, let's say, fantastical ideas, or not fantastical ideas, but some which are like, oh, this is really good, but it's probably going to take a while to implement. Like possibly the idea of getting, a useful interface in-game, unless they're deciding to remake everything realistically, that's probably not gonna happen. This has been your downer information when it comes to game devs. Thank you.
Yeah, which kind of plays in with what I said earlier about the league management tools. With us being able to get a complete rewrite of the league management system in game, it's probably not going to happen. It's probably a lot more likely that we'd get access to the web-based interface we were talking about earlier. And that's a prime example of going for the lesser of the fantastical wants and desires that you want, the one that's most likely to have a potential chance of happening.
All right.
Also, I wanted to make one quick point
here
on the very last point topic that we talked about earlier with the timer showing while you're spinning. This might not be the exact answer, but there is a workaround to that. If you start spinning and say there's 4 minutes
kind
left,
of okay-ish, I suppose.
You can always cancel that spin and then start that respin back up, and it will tell you how much time is currently left. So if you've been waiting for 3 minutes and you cancel it and restart it, and it shows you there's 40 seconds left, that kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of where it's at.
I've got a final question from Joe. If you'd like to pitch in, mate.
Yeah, just passing on a question from a few, like if you brought them in the chat a few times, the possibility to rename players to the later stage, or at least rename loaners if you buy them at the end of a match.
He's going to make me score, isn't he?
User interface change, it would be required to enable that at a player level, certainly. One of the things that might be possible is for league admins to do at league level, if they are willing to take on the job of doing that. I've got no idea how regularly leagues have loaners.
Yeah, he's going to make me score.
Get picked up by teams.
No, he's not going to make me score. You rolled the POW. Fuck that.
If we get the league interface thing happening, then maybe the leagues are able to do it. And I'm not suggesting we'll be able to do it.
Bounce isn't awful per se. Single 3+ pickup.
For a start, so as T says, it depends on the size of the league.
Exciting!
User interfaces at all, but I think it's absolutely a good idea.
Smashing. Thank you very much. Andy, as we are drawing towards the end of our allotted time, unless anybody else has got anything to add, I can't see it in the Discord chat. Andy, would you like to wrap things up, old boy?
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, thank you very much, Denisius. I know he's not here now, but thank you very much to him for joining the show. Secondly, Dode and Spider.
I don't even need to score. As long as I keep him from scoring, it's fine.
A lot of questions.
Does he have any agility 3 up here?
And something I'll try and do more often.
Yeah, definitely no problem, and I'm always available to answer. At any point in time when I'm available, whether it's my stream or another streamer's stream, if they want me to jump on, I'm always available.
Great. I'm just going to run down the streamers one at a time, let you have any final closing thoughts, and also if you want to drop a link to your stream into the channel, so if there's any viewers that you don't necessarily always pick up, it gives you the opportunity to potentially pick up some follows there. So I'll just run down in the order they are in the chat. So Knorr, you're first up.
It was fun. Sorry for being a mega downer for most of it.
That's fine. Do you want to, if you want to drop a link into
sure
in the channel?
Here's my link. There you go. Please enjoy.
That's great.
And of course, smash that like button.
Absolutely, and yeah, if anyone who's not seen all these shows, I recommend strongly you guys go and add the follow icon onto all of these. Next up, Jimmy, thank you very much.
Yes, thanks for having me on. Hopefully everyone likes the new improved. Nice guy, Jimmy, fantastic.
Remember to resubscribe, Jimmy. There we go.
If you like that, Jimmy's mic keeps dropping out, so I think he's trying to say is if you enjoyed that, leave a like and subscribe.
And stay fantastic.
Thank you very much. Jumpy Jim, you're next.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for inviting me, Andy. I very much enjoyed the stream. I am only on my third beer for the session that we've been here, so I will definitely have to continue streaming later this evening to get that number up. I do stream very late US evenings. Come by, stop in, hang out. Nice being part of everything.
Come on.
Thank you. Joe, you're next.
Yes!
Yeah, no, I enjoyed this session. Well, it's... I was thinking about to begin with, because I didn't have a lot to contribute with to begin with. But all in all, I think it was a nice thing for bloodbowl, and that way you should keep on doing it.
Brilliant. Nergis, are you still here?
Yeah, man. Since I'm probably the newest Blood Bowl streamer around, I didn't really have many opinions, but it was really good to listen to the inner workings of everything and interesting ideas and all that sort of stuff, so it was really good to be included in that. So thank you, guys. And if you are ever an insomniac or up during Australian hours, I'm your man.
Right, Nergis, drop it into the channel. I know where you're going to stream. Thank you. T, you're next.
Yeah, I mean, thanks so much for including me in this. I know I didn't really have a whole lot of input because most of the points were covered by other people before I got a chance. But yeah, it's always nice just to have conversations like this, just to discuss things that people may have differing opinions of.
Well, T, you have introduced a new word into our collective consciousness, so thank you for that. Thank you.
That word is blot.
Damn it.
Oh dear. And last but not by no means least, Sage, do you want to get any rounding final thoughts?
Sure thing. I'd like to thank you guys a lot for organizing this. I think I've managed the let's all shut up because there's too many of us fairly well, but I have been listening all along, and yeah, I think this was good. I do think that it would be helpful if we get to talk to the actual developers and tell them, hey, you know, it would be really good if you could implement this, and I think you could do that in like an afternoon's work. I think that's where the most progress is going to come from. But this was productive, and I also want to say kudos to Jimmy for being a good guy today.
I'd also like to say real quick, Andy, because even though I'm associated as a CCL admin, I am a streamer as well, and I did drop my stream link in there. And I just want to thank all the streamers for jumping in and having a go at this. And I think it's definitely, as Sage was saying, it was productive and gives some good ideas for the CCL admins to kick around and you know, possibly you know, put some of those ideas into play if you know, if it comes to that point. And just for in terms of my stream specifically, I stream along with Jumpy Jim. I'm in the late US hours, evening hours, usually Monday through Thursday, and then over the weekends. So I tend to go around midnight UTC to about 6 a.m. UTC. So.
Oh. Sorry, Spider. I should have remembered also. You do stream, so yes. So you're right.
Yeah, no problem.
I linked you in with the CLL admins. So right. Thank you to everyone who's here. I'm going to close off this stream now. There's a couple of people who are streaming now. So you've got Nergis, who is streaming currently, and Jumpy Jim is also considering going live. So if you guys want to go back to some Blood Bowl, I'm going to host up Nergis because he is live, but you will have a couple of options. Thank you very much. If everyone in the channel wants to hang around for just a couple of minutes, I might talk to you guys off air, but that's fantastic. So thank you much all, and we will see you on Saturday. If you guys want to see this, I'm going to send all the notes over to Nithios, and I'm hoping that he will then post them onto the forums, and the thing that shall not be named, it'll also be on there as well, if you ever want to watch this back.
YouTube!
I didn't say it. I didn't.
You didn't say it. I sneezed. It's fine.
Right, okay. Cheers all. I will now host up Nergis. There we go.
Well,
we are out.
that hurt.
What were you?
So, right.
Well, have fun, Nurgus.
Oh, Nergis left.
Oh, baby. He just took the viewers and left, didn't he?
I feel like most of the concerns about everybody talking over each other were unfounded. I feel like we did very well with that.
Yeah, let's now all say that we agree with that.
I honestly, I didn't think it was going to go as well as this. Apologies to everybody. I didn't realise it was going to go on for 2 hours. But yeah, thank you so much to everyone for joining. And we all managed to keep it all nice and respectful, and it all went well. So yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much.
Just so you know, guys, I've had an absolute fuck ton of private messages in Twitch as we've been going along, along the lines of, I thought this was going to be a total car crash, and everybody's presented something that was vaguely watchable. So, you know, group kudos, fellas. Nice one.
It's always what we aim for, vaguely watchable.
Vaguely watchable.
I feel like that's got to be my
Gotta set the bar high.
Stream title, vaguely watchable.
Vaguely watchable.
I tell you what, though, just to follow up on what Sage just said there, I tell you what would be really fucking helpful if we could tie down some bloke from Cyanide. You know, I've no idea how realistic that is, but that's what would really help.
Anari and I have. Sorry, Anari and I do have a direct link to them, and we've spoken to them a few times. Anarian's going to, because he used to work at Cyanide, he's going to email the CEO. We've had some fairly productive talks with them before on this and on other stuff, and I know stuff that Sage has been involved in as well. So there is scope for us to get hold of Cyanide. Whether they would be willing or indeed legally able to have this sort of chat with us, I don't know, because folk is kind of short from that kind of thing.
Yeah, and they every once in a while, one or two of them drops in our admin talks, and we'll drop a blurb here and there, but it's really sporadic on whether or not we get answers from them, even from the admin side. Our more likely resource, their most likely resource of getting answers is Nethios.
There's one who sometimes pokes me on Steam chat to ask for rules interpretations. That was fun.
Well, Sage, I know you got to meet with a group of them before Legendary Edition got released. I believe you and Lupak did your intro videos talking about. Do you have any contacts from that meeting or anything like that?
Guys, can I just jump in here? I just want to check. I'm not streaming this. Is anyone else streaming this chat? Just so everyone in the channel is aware. Is anyone streaming this?
Yes. Yes, we are live right now.
I am not streaming.
I'm not streaming.
Because I had been live all throughout the talk.
Okay. Right. No one said anything deeply offensive, but it's just worth mentioning.
I mentioned the war once, but I think I got away with it. Okay.
Liger got the MVP. That's awesome.
That's fun. Thanks for the heads up there, Andy. I wasn't thinking about that.
It's know your surroundings. Christ, it catches me at work all the time.
Davo,
Anyway.
this is why you're on the big bucks, thinking outside the box, sunshine.
I don't even have the box.
Oh.
Okay.
You had the blocks though.
I've got the blots, just not the box.
I just want to say, by the way, I haven't spoken to. There's many of you here that I haven't spoken to before. It's been a real pleasure to meet many of you.
Agreed.
Yep. I'll cut out of this talk
Absolutely.
now, and I'll cut out of this talk now and do one more game.
Very
Good luck, Sage.
Yeah.
Good luck, Sage.
Good luck.
Cheers, Sage.
See you guys.
I don't know if you've seen my my response.
Nope, I haven't, and it's gone. Well, one more game, right? Yeah, one more game. So, wrestle it is. That's not an agility skill you get. All right. So we are down to 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 players. He's missing. We could buy a 9th, but really, I'd rather keep the money for now. We will get Arm Devil back. That's good. And we will get a 3 Journeyman, which is actually quite okay. But we really want to get 150 more gold pieces so that we can buy 4 new linemen and actually have a bench, which would be awesome. Just not yet. Then again, the good news is 911 is looking kind of okay. So I'm pretty pleased with that part. Yeah. Alright YouTube, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, remember to leave it a thumbs up at the bottom. And of course, if you'd like to see more videos, do check out the channel and hit subscribe on your top right.